show the darkness of the abortion industry. I think Jason's going to talk about this later, but there's stories, right? All great like movies and Hollywood videos, like you ever watch Craig University videos. What's really good about a lot of videos is they set things up in stories. There's the villain, there's a point of conflict, there's the hero usually has to overcome something. It's kind of like these classes you can take in like script writing, and like every good movie follows like the same kind of theme. Sorry, you didn't use, but this is how they write all movies. We have to be able to expose the dark. It's not enough to be like, yeah, we're for culture life, we're for this. You have to be able to, and we are, and that's what we do. But you have to be able to say, this is wrong. This is bad. Now, you don't name call. There's ways we go about it to be effective, but there's things we have to do. We have to talk about the fact that Planned Parenthood is the nation's largest abortion vendor, and they've been shown to be selling baby body parts that violate several federal and state statutes, that they should be funded our taxpayer dollars. It's not mean to do that. Let me repeat that. It is not mean to do that, because we're here standing for truth. We're here standing up for something, and you have to be able to speak that truth. You can speak that truth in love and with compassion, and you can be strategic in the way you do that, but you can't be afraid to actually say what it is you are against. I love you like this. Somebody got quiet. The next thing we have to do is we have to recruit new members. So I talked about our polling a little this summer. So yeah, you're winning 53%. That's what we told the media and we put it out there. What we didn't tell those people is that there was also a problem with that. 53% of millennials, 18 to 21, said that they would believe abortion should be illegal in all or almost every case. I'm going to talk a little bit later. One of the panels we have is that community chamber was closed to come to our panel. But what we didn't tell everyone is that only 36% of those people we surveyed, those millennials we surveyed, said that they were pro-life. So that means that there's people walking around who have our views, or almost they share most of our views, right? Maybe we have to like work with them on a couple of things, but they won't identify with us. They won't say that they're a part of us. That's a narrative problem. That's a brand problem that we have with us. And that's why when we're at the Walk for Life, and we're like literally like pushing our way in with our baby Rio's Blood Generation banner, because we want that picture in front of the Walk for Life to clearly show that young people are pro-life. Why? Because young people drive culture. Young people are sick. That's who Hollywood and all these marketing institutions, they drive all of their products, all of their promotion to young people. Because then if they get young people to do it, people like me who are like struggling with the fact that we're becoming older and want to be cool, we look to the young people, why is it we have a whole generation like moms who wear jeggings now? That should not be wearing jeggings. It's because the teenage daughters did. They're like, well, that's cool too. Everyone is, wants to emulate young people. So we have to recruit more people to our cause, and that's why your Students for Lifers are so important on your campus. That's why we don't just come to a campus and say, hey, we're bringing a Planned Parenthood project, and don't do anything the rest of the year. That's why you have active Students for Lifers, because the model is belong, believe, behave. That psychology-wise, you've got to get people to join your group and realize they aren't crazy. I kind of like them first. They want to become your friend. They have to like you. Once they like you, guess what? They'll actually listen to the words coming out of your mouth. That's when you start changing your hearts and minds. That's why, as Josh talked about when you're on campus, you want to build that relationship with them. How do you do that as quickly as possible in the past of mine? That's what I will tell you how to do it. I'm not really good friends with them. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. Belong, believe, and once they start listening to you, guess what?
you'll win. The truth is on our side. It's written on our human hearts, right? In our human nature. Then we begin to behave. So recruit. The next thing you need to do is you need to challenge our institutions. What are our institutions in our country? Churches, universities, media, government. You need to be engaged on this front. We need to make sure our churches, I don't care what religion you are or where you go to worship, if you go to worship somewhere, you need to make sure that place is talking about this issue. We know in our country the majority of women who obtain an abortion actually say that they're Christian. There was a thing that they're Christian. There was a study come out from Karen that said the vast majority of women who obtained an abortion said they had gone to a church service in the past month. So it's not like every woman who obtains an abortion in our country is all the way Christian. Well, you are active Christians. They still feel that they have no other choice than to kill their child. They feel they have no other choice. We need to challenge our institutions. We need to challenge the church to talk about the truth, have the post-abortion counseling and healing resources, and make sure your church or wherever you worship has those resources in place for to direct her to those resources. Your university, check. You're all doing it. You're probably doing training on campus. That's easy. Media, you have to be out there. That's why going to the Walk for Life and the March for Life and Women's March, that's why it's so important. Because when we know we go to the Women's March, I'm not going to convert the 500,000 people are out. I'm planting seeds and I'm changing the media's narrative of us. There was this guy today at the Supreme Court, Our Lady of Guadalupe, down on, there's a Catholic word for it, the priest square. There you go. I am Catholic near me, so I don't know these words. But it's interesting because I don't think he was a priest either. And he had like a GoPro way above Mary's head and like, oh, that's weird. But he kept following me around at the Supreme Court. And he's like, yeah, here's this preaching. Tell him why I wrote that. And I was just slowly walking away from him. He would come to the left, I would go right. And I had to literally lose this guy. So I'm please no one take pictures of this guy next to me. Okay? The viewer conflicted about the election. But we actually have a huge opportunity right now. A huge opportunity. We have a president who I don't know if he's personally pro-life. I know our vice president is. I know him very well. Our vice president is a freaking rock star. Our vice president actually wrote a bill to defund Planned Parenthood before anybody before him even thought of it. He was trying to defund Planned Parenthood before it was cool. So what we need to do is we need to hold our leaders in Washington accountable. Regardless of whether or not you go to the president or we're old enough to go to the president, I don't care. What I need you to do is make sure we're encouraging, stick up with your promises, do what you said you're going to do, appoint a pro-life Supreme Court justice, defund Planned Parenthood. We have to do those things because there's a whole bunch of people in our country who were there in Washington, who were here yesterday in LA, in Seattle, who want to do everything they can to make sure he goes back to those promises. We've got to make sure they stick to the promises. Two last things. Be merciful. Seek justice. That's what we do in our campuses. To every woman who's facing unplanned pregnancy. To every woman who's suffering from an abortion decision. To every man who's suffering from an abortion decision in their life. We've got to make sure that we're providing all of those institutional support for when Roe is overturned. I've been asked this several times by newspaper reporters in the past 2 weeks because the other side is freaking out that Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned. And they're like, how do you feel about that? I'm like, that would be amazing. That's what I do. They're like, well, you think that's a little extreme? Don't you want to just make abortion unthinkable? I'm like, I want to make it unthinkable, of course, but I also want to make it legal. So the question then is, do we have all the resources in place to serve them once abortion is legal? Now, we have 3,000 pregnancy centers across the country, and there's about 600 Planned Parenthood and abortion facilities. So we're totally outnumbering them, but no one really knows where the pregnancy center is.
There's 13,000 qualified health centers out there that provide every service that America does, plus more, minus abortion. But no one really knows where they are. We have to do a better job of marketing those centers. We need to do a better job of creating, when you graduate from college, creating new entrepreneurial organizations in our communities that are going to serve her. We have to do a better job. Every morning, this goes to my last point, of having a vision. Every morning we should be waking up saying, what am I going to do today? If abortion is ended tomorrow, what is it that needs to do today? Because for so many people, I think in the pro-life movement, it's like, yeah, I'm going to come to the Walk for Life. That's my annual pro-life thing. And I'm going to go get down to the wharf and get my sourdough bread. And I'm going to come home. And the next year I'll be there. Our goal should be that we don't have to ever do that again. Now, I love how you stand and sit down, and I love you all, but we don't have to be able to, we don't want to have to walk on the Walk of Life next year. That shouldn't be like, yeah, next year. No, the goal is we abolish abortion this year, make abortion illegal this year, and we start working at every single state will make it illegal, and to make sure every resource she needs is available and marketed to her so she knows it exists. That's the goal. Recruit new members, challenge the institution, seek justice, show mercy, and you're going to have that vision in your mind, a vision for the end of abortion. Men and women, we need a new generation of heroes. Those women who were on the stage yesterday in D.C. for the Women's March, a lot of them are media icons, music icons. They are what so many people in our country look up to. It was sad. It was really sad if you listen to the words that they would say. They're angry. They're lost. We need you to be that generation of heroes. We need rebels. We need people who want to go out to that bullhorn in the middle of the Supreme Court or march those banners in the front of the Women's March. We need people like Abby Johnson who are like, I don't care, Planned Parenthood is doing wrong, I know the truth, and I'm going to go on every national TV outlet and expose them no matter what it costs. We need people who are love spreaders, who go everywhere and say, are we providing love, compassion, healing? Are we providing those resources to her? I don't have a better term than love spreader. Someone thinks of their own word, you can go from it. We need those people who have vision. People like David Delight. People are like, you know what, I'm going to do something that's never been done before because I don't want to just be part of any abortion. I want to change the whole freaking show. You need to have that vision. And my favorite people are the people who just have the grit. The people like Tina, who are the other vice president. Tina, who we found out we sent our polls, CDC polls up for our 20-foot banners yesterday, because the walk said they want like eco-friendly stuff. So we had a cardboard, and they're like, how the heck do you have this huge cardboard pole? Like, who makes? And everyone's team was like, Kristen, you're just gonna have to get over it. We're not gonna know how to pole. And I was like, guys, let's think it up for a little bit. And I'm like, crap, I know they're texting each other, going, she's crazy. People like Tina, though, who have grit. She's like, I'm just going to get it done. And she just started carpet suppliers. And we found huge cardboard holes. Because Tina had the grit. She didn't give up. She was determined. She let nothing stop her in her mission of getting cardboard holes so we can witness the 500,000 women. People who have ordinary lives that live for the extraordinary because they serve others. This is the example that I'm trying to set every day for my son and my daughter Gracie. I want them to be proud of what I do. I want them to come with my husband's permission. Come to these crazy events. I want them to see what it means to live that extraordinary life. Because that's what your life is about. It's the legacy that you leave.
whatever corporate ladder that may be. They've bought into this lie. That's why they're defensive. Because for them, they completely take them off the chart. Yeah, but then women like this can often prove them wrong. You got women like Kelly and Conway, who no matter your opinion on politics, guys, I'm kind of biased because she's a Jersey girl like me, and she was a single mom. She's now senior counsel to the President of the United States. You as women, you can do whatever you put your mind to. And guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm so over guys, even in my own life, saying, well, I might have a personal thing for that. It's a woman's choice. You are made to be protectors. You were made to be I'm really going to count on you guys, if something went down here, to do something. That is not biased. That is awesome. God made you to do this. You are to advocate for the needs of those among us. These innocent lives. So thank you. I know things are getting started. Obviously, you can tell I'm already getting fired up. I hope you guys.
3.5 years ago, I was speaking at the Central California Diocesan Congress. And when I went to I think some of you probably have known of this. This is a huge convention in Visalia. So when I went to speaking, I was at a booth, kind of like today. And so I was at the booth, and this young guy walked up to me, he clearly recognized me. He looked vaguely familiar to me. He says to me, John, it's me! And I was switching a little bit, the second girl, I'm not going to be able to speak his sort of name. And so I'm trying to play things, and he scratched my guy, and he says, hey, talk to you, and I said, hey, talk to you. And I said, oh yeah, I remember you, how's it going? And he said, great, I'm from Light now. And I said, really? I went through puberty. Really? What did it for you? And he said, well, I just kept thinking about that thing that you said, about how all humans are equal. He had made an argument to my mind that to be pro-equality, you had to be pro-life. It's an argument I'm going to explain to you later today. But it's an interesting thing that, as I reflect on my life, 10 years ago, I was a very different kind of a pro-life politician. And I think so much of the difference is that in the last 10 years, I've spent so much time talking to pro-choice people, especially in person, not just online. And I don't think I was listening to my own 10 years ago. But after thousands of conversations with pro-choice people and hundreds of hours of analysis, my brother Tim and I came to have a very particular vision for pro-life dialogue. And that vision culminated in us starting CORAZON. When we started CORAZON 2.5 years ago, there were two things that were really high values for us. One of the high values for us was we wanted to help pro-lifers to not be weird. Like, go pro die. Like, that's not helpful. But another high value that we had was we wanted to help people, we wanted to be innovative and flexible with our training material. So what we like to do is we love R&D. Like a college campus is our laboratory. We love to go into campus and try new stuff. We try new arguments, new dialogue techniques. We can try to figure out what is going to work best with today's pro-choice college students. And sometimes we try things and they fail miserably and nobody ever hears about it. And then there's other times that we try things and they work out really well and we keep on testing them. And then if it's working really well, then we can instantly communicate those things to the people who are following us, so we can all have better conversations. When Tim and I walked onto the campus of Grand Rapids State University last spring, we knew as we stepped foot on that campus, there's three things we were going to test that day. And one of them got really interesting results. Like, we just love that R&D. The governing principle, though, behind our training material, what we teach is that we want to train you to change the mind of pro-choice people right in front of you. My goal in my one-on-one conversations is to change pro-choice minds. That's what I want to do. So that means that we have to recognize and understand pro-choice arguments well. We also have to understand what kinds of ways that we can respond that are going to be helpful, that are going to actually connect in their mind. We have to try to figure out how to bridge the cultural gap. Guys, there is such a cultural gap between pro-life and pro-choice people. We think so differently. Because pro-life people are always thinking about the baby. Pro-choice people are always thinking about who? The mom. different languages. Although, unlike the case of the Tower of Babel, we don't know that we speak different languages. So here's what happens. Pro-choice person says X, and pro-life person hears Y. Or pro-life person says A, and pro-choice person hears B. So what we need to do is we're going to try to figure out how do we bridge this cultural gap? What kinds of arguments can we use that are going to be most likely to connect with this person, to persuade them? Because once again, what is my goal in the conversation? Change pro-choice mind. You can do better than that. Okay. So we have to kind of figure out how we can do that. And I'll tell you, the best, most persuasive pro-life arguments are not usually sufficient for changing a pro-choice person's mind. You also need good dialogue skills. So in the session after lunch, Rebecca Hopkins and I are going to talk about some practical dialogue tips that you can use to help your conversations go more smoothly. But for what I want to do right now is I want to spend the next 45 minutes giving you the best, most valuable 45 minutes of pro-life arguments that I possibly can so that you can go change pro-choice minds. Does that sound good? All right. We're ready to go. You're awake. All right. Conversations about abortion can be kind of overwhelming. And one of the reasons that they can be so overwhelming is that we hear so many different justifications for abortion. We hear so many pro-choice arguments, and especially in the beginning of the conversation, we're mainly hearing things about first circumstances. What are the circumstances that a woman finds herself in when she's in an unplanned pregnancy? What if she's in college? What if she's got a career? What if she's poor? Things like this. And these are not the central areas of disagreement between pro-life and pro-choice people. Despite what the organizers of yesterday's March for Life want you to believe, pro-choice people are not the only ones who care about poverty. We are not. This is not one of the central areas of disagreement. There's two central areas of disagreement. One of them is, what is the moral status of women? Is the unborn a person with rights or not? And the second one has to do with bodily rights. Does a woman's bodily autonomy, or should a woman's bodily autonomy trump whatever rights a child might have? Those are the two areas of central disagreement. So the pro-choice argument that doesn't comment on one of those two premises cannot justify abortion. And so the pro-choice person completely ignores those issues and just focuses on circumstances relating to abortion. Then there must be a hidden premise in her argument. There must be something going on in her mind. Something she might not even be aware of. There's something going on in her mind that is causing her to be pro-choice. But it's a hidden premise. And we don't want hidden premises. We don't want any hidden premises. We want clarity in our conversations. We want all the premises on the table. So how can we draw out those hidden premises? Well, one thing we could do is you could just accuse them of committing a logical fallacy and begging the question. They're technically true. They're question begging. They're assuming one of their premises to be true. But I just haven't found it to be that effective to accuse people of that they're committing a logical fallacy. I don't know if you've seen the obnoxious guy on Facebook that's like, all right, you just committed a logical fallacy. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. And that's really a big. It's like, dude, you're using Latin. Like you're either an ancient Roman or you're annoying. So like, secondly, it is so much more effective if you see there's a logical fallacy going on to help them to figure out that this is going on without naming the fallacy. Like, it is easy to go and memorize the list of logical fallacies and put them on the people. What's hard, what's advanced, and so much more effective is you see there's a logical fallacy going on, and now you're going to graciously help them to see it without naming it. That's way more effective and less obnoxious. So I'm not going to accuse people of question begging unless there's like a public debate or something like that. And that's fine. If I'm in a one-on-one conversation, which is what I think we were really, really good at, then I'm not going to do that. Instead, we're going to use a really helpful pro-life tool that we learned from Scott Kusenberg called CORAZON. I'm going to find out if this thing works. Go down. Oh, down, not up. Okay, all right, got it. All right, we're going to do that. Thank you, Tina. Really helpful. Okay, so there's a certain method that we have in URI for trying this process. It's a 4-step process that we found to be really helpful. And the steps start with the letters A, B, C, and E. So I'm going to tell you, here's what the steps are. First, I'm going to affirm her concern. Then I'm going to brace her for the weird question. I'm going to create a parallel situation. And and then I'm going to describe the logic. So let me tell you about those 4 steps. Let's say the person says, we need abortion because of poverty. The person did affirm their concern. I need you to hear me for a second. Do not just check this off. This is not just something real quick to go. This is not like a 5, like you got to do 5 words here, yeah, poverty is bad, moving on. Like you need to spend some, you need to camp out here for a while. You need at least 2 or 3 sentences. You need to convince this person that you actually care. Now, I say that if you actually care, don't pretend. Like if you don't actually care about people in poverty, then please don't tell people you're focused. Because there's enough people in the movement that have used television, but they can't acknowledge there's something else wrong with the world and then it's hurting our movement. So if you don't care about people in poverty, you've got a problem with your soul, you need to talk your freaks to that. And then maybe you can come back in. But assuming you actually care, you need to help people see that you care. If you're a Republican, please listen up. Republicans sometimes tend to not be that good at helping people understand that they actually care about people in poverty. That needs to change. So I'm going to set the term. I'm going to say something like, I think poverty is tragic. I don't want people in poverty. There's so much stress in someone's life. If they can barely buy food every week for their family. And I want our society to find better ways to help people who want to get out of poverty to be able to get out of poverty faster. Of course we want that. And then I'm going to brace her for the weird question. And the reason I'm going to do this is because step 3 is I'm going to make an analogy. And sometimes, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but sometimes people are not very good at tracking with analogies. And that makes a philosophical conversation kind of difficult. And so this is just me increasing my odds of this going on. And then, being able to track with what I'm doing. Sometimes pro-life people just move too fast. Like, you know what you want to do, but then you move too fast. I've seen well-meaning pro-life people where, like, the first person says, we need abortion because of poverty. And the pro-life person looks at them and says, imagine I had a toddler here. Like, way too fast. And everyone has no idea what you're like, what are you talking about? I'm never talking about fetuses. Never talking about toddlers. What's going on? Like, too fast. One step at a time. Let me ask you a weird question. I think this is going to help you understand where I'm coming from. Just go with me for a minute. And then I'm going to create a illustration. You can do this quickly, and you can also do this in story form. I like telling stories. So I'm going to tell a story like this. And imagine I'm going to do this like this. I said we need abortion because of poverty. So imagine a mom and dad have like a big family. So let's say they've got like 8 kids. It's so funny when I go to breakfast speaking at a Catholic conference and do vote on campus and talking to 8 kids. I'm like, imagine a family with 8 kids. You're like, 8 kids? Yeah. Anyway, so they have got 8 kids. So they all have dinner, and then it's bedtime. So bedtime starts at 7 o'clock, we're all in bed at 9:30. And then the mom and dad kind of hang out around the table for an hour or so like. And after an hour, the dad looks at the mom and says, look, I just don't understand how we're going to make this phone call. We've cut the cable, we've cut the Netflix, we've cut all the fun stuff. It's still not working out. I guess we're going to have to opt the youngest one. And so they smother the 2-year-old in the bed that night. And then I say, okay, obviously we agree. It should not be legal to do that, right? And the other person's, of course, going to say, yeah, obviously that should not be legal. And then I'm just going to describe the logic. This is just me pulling the curtain back. Here's the man behind the curtain. Here's what's going on with me. I might say, when you, I got this jersey. You might think this is kind of strange. Like, I think that a human embryo is morally equal with a human toddler. I know, that sounds crazy, but that's my view. That's why I'm pro-life. That's what's going on for me. If you change my mind about that, I'm pro-choice now. So this is, I think, an embryo and toddlers are morally equal. So when you said that we need abortion because of poverty, 2 things happened in my mind, almost simultaneously. The first thing that happened was I felt really sad. Because I'm sad about people in poverty. We're both on the same team. And then the other thing that happened was I thought in my mind, would that be a good justification for killing college? Because I think they're the same. I think human embryos and college are the same. So that's why I thought that. Now, this doesn't prove you're wrong. I'm just hoping you understand, here's what's going on with me. This is why I'm not persuaded yet. And we both agree that poverty is awful, and yet I'm not instantly pro-choice just because you said the word poverty is why. So, if my weird view is correct, that embryos and toddlers are morally equal, then it seems like poverty was justified worse? What do you think? Now, you might say, well, they're not morally evil, or it's different. It's in her body. Okay, cool. Now we're not going to do a really powerful rhetorical counterpunch because they just said something stupid. It's anti-science. Almost I disagree. Come on, that's really obvious. Like, we want to do that thing. You don't even know if we're talking about science right now. I know it sounds like they are. They're probably not. Kristen was exactly right. This is why it's so helpful that Steve Wagner from Justice for All trains people to always ask this clarification question. If they say no one knows when life begins, you ask, when he said that, I'm not sure what you meant. Do you mean that no one knows when biological life begins? Or do you mean something more philosophical? Like no one knows when a person is breastfeeding? Or you said no one knows, like you used to say when a human begins. Do you mean biological? Do you mean like no one knows when a member of the species, Homo sapiens, begins? Or do you mean something more philosophical? Like no one knows when a person with rights begins. We ask that question all over the country on campuses. And you know what? Almost every person says they meant the latter thing. They were just being too vague with their language. This isn't always true on the internet. I hear stupider arguments on the internet space. It's all different thing. But on college campuses, I just don't hear that many students, like real college students, arguing with me that like an embryo is not biologically alive. This is good. It's pretty good. I just don't have to deal with it that much more often. We're talking about the more interesting things, the central areas of disagreement. Now, if they were talking about biology, we can respond to that. And I think starting with Steve Wagner's 10 seconds rule is really helpful because it might give them just enough data for them to kind of self-correct and kind of move to a better argument. And it might be like, so with Steve Wagner, it's like, it seems like we know that, and, it seems like if the unborn are growing in the West July, it seems like if they've got human parents and they must be human. I think human beings are doing something that they like in their values. That's so helpful because what might happen is they might think in their mind like, oh yeah, it's growing. I hadn't even thought about that. And it's like, move on. That's the velocity. That's okay. Awesome. This is going to be more productive. Better use the time. But if that's still not enough, we can give more evidence. The science is on our side. We can tell them about how there are 3 mutually sufficient conditions for knowing that something's alive. Growth through cellular reproduction, metabolizing food into energy, and reacting to stimuli. So we know that something that does all 3 of those things, it's alive. There's no really scientific debate about that. And an embryo is doing all of those things from fertilization on. We can talk about how we can know that the embryo is changing because living things reproduce under their own time. Humans don't have sex and come up with non-humans. That's just isn't happening. And we can talk about how you can even examine a number of child's DNA. You can see that it has a uniquely human DNA fingerprint. We can explain to them that it's not a part of her body. It's not like a skin cell or an egg cell. It's an organism with its own parts that are working for the good of the whole on a self-directed path for development. We can give them more evidence, but probably what they meant was personal. And then we can talk about that. That's my favorite part of the speech. Now I can tell you about the Igor argument. This is so cool. So I spend a lot of time defending person in a certain way. And then my brother Tim and Steve Wagner heard this argument from Dr. J.C. Moreland at biology, brilliant philosopher. And they started modifying this argument and trying it on campus. Again, we like R&D. So they started trying this argument on campuses, and they were pretty stunned by the results they were getting. So then they started getting other people around the country to test them. And then I started testing it, and I was blown away. I have never seen any argument change my mind about abortion. To the point that we would have our debrief sessions after an outreach, like we do an outreach, and we could just circle like on the grass somewhere, just kind of talking about our day. And it became sort of redundant because it's the same conversation. Hey, I saw 2 people become pro-life today. Really? What happened? Oh, I used the Igor argument, and then they become pro-life. I guess it was the same thing every night. This is one of the reasons we started the Equal Rights Institute, was I wanted to teach more people the equal rights argument. There's a few reasons why this argument is so big. One of them is that it is not a religious argument. It is an equality-based argument. Equality is in premise 1. And that is something that our generation cares about more than maybe anything else. I'm going to argue that for them to be pro-equality, they have to be pro-life. And that, for a lot of people, is sufficient to change their mind. Here's why. The people we're talking to care about being equal who care about being pro-equal. help them connect the dots and help them see they can't consistently be pro-equality if they are not pro-life. For them to kind of preserve their self-identity as being a pro-equality person, they have to switch to pro-life. So that's one reason this is really effective. Another reason is we're intentionally getting them to take just a few minute break from talking about abortion. And this can be helpful because when they're talking about abortion, it might be just like this mental mode of trying to guard intellectual turf. So I'm going to get them talking about something they're really passionate about for a couple of minutes, equality. And I want them to get in touch with how passionate they are about equality, because I'm about to get them in direct contradiction with their pro-choice views and their pro-equality views. And that's really good. The other thing, the third reason I think this is so persuasive is the way that we respond to counter our argument. So let me kind of show you what the structure is of this argument. It's sort of three questions in the first part of the choice argument. The first question is, do we have an equal right to life? I'm so sorry, this side of the room that just doesn't have a screen. I'm sorry. Do we have an equal right to life? Well, the second question is, do you think that means there's something to think about it? And the third question kind of naturally follows from that. What's the thing about it? Now, it's important for you to understand. In the first question, the word "we" does not refer to the unborn. We are not putting fetal personhood in front of one, or else this would be a circular argument. We're talking about human adults. What's going on behind the scenes is we're pointing to the most obvious case of personhood, human adults. And then we're going to drill deeper on that, try to learn more about that really obvious case. So then we can apply that knowledge to the life of the kid, the unborn. Now, this is not how it sounds like when I do these first argument like Canvas. I'm not like, question one, do we start like this? What happens is it's more like this. We were at UC Davis this last spring. We had one of our most followed conferences we've ever had, SNURI. It was at UC Davis. The campus known for being very pro-conservative Christians. So we showed up on campus, and there were pro-choice protesters on the ground before we even arrived. They had been tipped off, I'm assuming, by the administration. So we walked on the campus, and they weren't where we set up. We set like a pool table. They were like hundreds of yards each direction. And they were set up, and they had pro-choice signs, and they had umbrellas, which I thought that's kind of weird because it's like a sunny day. But anyway, kind of whatever. We set up our pool table. We had signs that said food abortion remain legal. We had a yes option and a no option and an independent option in the middle. You could just sign up and talk. What was going on, we didn't realize. What was going on was they thought that we were bringing big graphic signs. And so they were telling all the people that walked by, there's scary graphic images down there. You want us to send you an umbrella escort? We can shield you from the scary pro-life images. And then people would walk by and see our pool table. And we realized that a few hours into the outreach, and I asked him, like, do you think we should tell them? Like, and he was like, yeah, fine. They figured out for us. So anyway, eventually they kind of formed a big protest, and we kind of walked with them. So anyway, before things got kind of crazy, I'm sitting on a pool table and talking to these three pro-choice girls. Usually, if I'm doing outreach, you're going to see me sitting on a pool table. This is where I end up. I'm relaxed that way. It makes the other person know that I'm relaxed. I have healthy conversation. And also helps because I'm kind of a tall guy. And I don't like it when tall guys lord their height over women in this like rhetorical way. Like this like short women, I just don't like that. So I just like sitting on the table is about as low as I can get someone's island without feeling amused and being weird. So I'm just sitting at the pool table and talking to pro-choice girls. They hinted at me for a few minutes. They're pretty angry. And I listened. And then to her credit, one of them asked me, she said, I want to know why you're here. What's your argument? So I think I appreciate you asking me. I think I can help you understand why for life in about 2 minutes. She said, go. So let me give you that 2 minutes. This is what I do. So I'm an open-minded person. I'm open-minded about almost all minds. I'm basically open-minded about everything except my own existence and that 2 + 2 is 4 and a base system. Everything else is on a spectrum of confidence for me. Like there's some things that I'm very confident in. I'm very confident that some form of Christianity is true. I'm very confident that the pro-life is true. There's other issues that I'm very not confident in my view. There's other stuff in the middle. Basically, this means I live a really uncomfortable life. Because the people that I know, and I do know people that are basically 100% sure that everything they believe is true, like these just are more comfortable than I am. I just kind of going to like trying to figure out what should I believe about different things. And sometimes changing my mind about issues that are really important to me. So anyway, that's just one. So I'm open-minded. But one of the things that it would be hardest for me to change my mind on is this: that everybody that I can see right now has an equal right to life. So we're outside the quad at UC Davis. Like this is like where most people have lunch. You could see a few hundred people right now. I said, all these people that I can see right now, I think they have an equal right to life. It would be very hard for you to change my mind about that. But there's something kind of weird about that, isn't there? Because we're all so different. I see tall people and I see short people. I see some people who are really smart. I see some people who are trying their best. People who are like good sports and music, and other people who are not. And you've got, I've seen multiple people in wheelchairs today. There's all these differences. How can we possibly explain this thing? We both agree on. Basically, everybody knows that civilization agrees. We have an equal right to life. How can we possibly explain that when there are so many differences? And I think there must be something that we all have in common. And this is key, don't miss it. It's got to be something that we all have equally. Because we're trying to ground equality. It cannot be something that you can have more or less of. It can't be like, oh yeah, humans are all equal because they're all intelligent. That's not going to do the job of explaining equality. Why? Because we're not all equally intelligent. Anyone who believes that, they can go to YouTube today and they can comment on the first video. And it's fine, you can see some people think that it's fine, they're still getting an equal right to life, but that's not the thing. That's not the thing that we all have equally. What is that thing? I think it's something like humanness. Being human. That's all we're necessary. Like a life. We're human enough. And so that's the thing that grounds our equality. And if the unborn are human, as we totally are, then we have to get the unborn into the right thing. And the last thing I told those girls, I said, notice this is not a religious argument, and this is not an emotional argument either. I'm not pro-life for emotional reasons. I don't get the warm pleasures when I look at an embryo. I don't do that thing, like not for too long ago, some friends of mine on Facebook posted a picture of their newborn on Facebook, and I had that thing, and oh, that's baby, like that kind of thing. It's a cute baby too, isn't it? So, you have that. They're not all cute. You had a friend of mine, they got sweeter as they went along. Fine, they don't need the rest of life. They're persons. What's that? Anyway, I said, oh, the baby. I don't get that when I look at his zygote. I think it looks like a fuzzy orange. I'm not pro-life for emotional reasons. I told this girl, I said, I'm pro-life because it is the most rational conclusion that I can come to. Because I believe in equality. And that is my first premise, and because I believe in equality, I have to be pro-life. Because I've not yet heard a good argument. After having that 15 years, I've not yet heard a good argument that is putting for personhood that doesn't exclude the unborn. So I am for equality, so I'm pro-life. That's what I told her. Now, sometimes what happens is right then and there, they become pro-life. Because they agree. Like this, the thing that we all have in common is being human. But sometimes aware of the world around you. If you got that, like an equal right to life circle. Everything inside the circle gets an equal right to life. Everything outside of it doesn't. So, they might say, I think to get in the circle, the second thing or anything like that, is you've got to be minimally aware of the world around you, and then you're in. Okay, we're going to respond to that with a thought experiment that my brother Timothy on. Since the philosophy ground from biology, he thinks in thought experiments. Awesome. So, we call this the zoo suit. Like, imagine we go to the zoo, and we're hanging out in front of the elephant exhibit, and then a gunman shows up and starts shooting. He gets 6 bullets fired before he's tackled by security. Let's think about those bullets. The first bullet goes to the bushes and kills the world's unluckiest cockroach. It's okay, you didn't do that. The world's unluckiest cockroach. That's funny to me because I got a pretty dark sense of humor. So does anything need that unlucky? I think it's pretty good. The second bullet goes to the bushes and kills a squirrel. The third bullet kills an elephant. There's a big bullet. The fourth bullet kills a human newborn. The fifth bullet kills a toddler. And the sixth bullet kills an adult stockfoot of love. Now, the question I'm asking is, how many murders do we have? Not what is the law right now, what should the law be? How many of these things should be in the equal right to life circle? Well, if we're trying to figure out, if we're sensing the worldview that would get you into being minimally aware of the world around you, how many murders do we have? 6. They're all minimally aware of the world around them. Like, if you don't know if cockroaches are really, like, at least squirrels clearly are. They store nuts. Like, it's clearly where the world around them. So this is a big problem with the view. It's not the only problem with the view, but this is the one that we're going to push hard with because this is what's going to be the most effective. I'm going to say, I just don't think, like, it seems like under your view, squirrels are equally valuable to cockroaches. I know this is bad news. Like, I don't think this is the world that I live in. I don't think I live in a world where squirrels are equal to dolphins. And we're going to put something in front of you. Now, they might say something else. Like, okay, well, I think what gets used in the correct life cycle is being self-aware. You need to be, like, able to understand that your unique self is going to exist over a period of time. Okay? Shoo-shoo, cockroach, squirrel, elephant, newborn, toddler, adult woman. How many murders do we have? I count 3. The adult woman, the toddler, and the elephant. But not the newborn. Elephants are self-aware. At least to some extent. You can put a red dot on an elephant's forehead, put it in front of a mirror. It'll rub with its trunk against its forehead. This means that it can tell that it's looking at its own reflection in its own self-aware test. They also mourn their dead in really, really interesting ways. So they're self-aware. Newborns aren't so. Newborns are able to do that until at least 2 or 3 months, maybe 6. So this view has 2 big problems. And all of these purpose views have one of these 2 problems. They're either letting too many things into the equal-rights life circle, like squirrels, or they're excluding too many things, like newborns. And when we figure out which one of those it is, we're going to push hard against those things. As a father who's been present at the birth of my 3 sons, I am highly, highly confident that newborns should be in the equal-rights life circle. I'm going to push hard against the view that that's not true. So being pro-life is the only reasonable conclusion of the equal-rights argument. In order to be consistently pro-choice, you have to be an extremist. You have 3 extremist options that you can choose from if you don't want to adhere to the modest conclusion that it's wrong to still be using a woman. You can pick more than one of these 3 things, but you're stuck with at least one of them. And the equal-rights argument illustrates the first 2. You either have to be an extreme animal rights activist who says that squirrels are equal to toddlers, or you have to be pro-against them. The only way for the first person to avoid those 2 extremist options is to move to bodily rights. Bodily rights arguments are completely different things. Because the way the argument is working is that for the sake of argument, they are conceding personhood. They're saying, fine, the unborn is a person for the sake of argument, and I think you can still have an abortion. Why? Because of the kind of relationship that it has with the mother's body. This is not an anti-personhood argument. Totally different thing. One of our good friends and one of the members of our advisory board, Trent Lawrence from Catholic Answers, has made a really, really helpful distinction between 2 different types of bodily rights arguments. There's one that Trent calls the sovereign zone argument. This is a classic, a woman has the right to do with anything inside of her body. She can do everything else. Anything inside of her body. And there's a more nuanced version called the right to refuse argument. This is a woman that has the right to refuse to be hooked up to other people. For time purposes, I'm going to talk to you more about the right to refuse argument. I'm going to tell you how to respond to the sovereign zone argument. This is the one that we just hear a whole lot more often. What we want to do is we want to show them a few implications of their view. What if they're right? What if a woman should have the right to do anything she wants with anything inside of her body? Well, there's a few implications of that. The first one, and this is one that proves the right to refuse argument too, is there can be no restrictions on abortion at all. Almost all pro-choice people these days make bodily rights arguments, and surprisingly few of them think there should be no restrictions on abortion. Most of them don't defend euthanasia abortion. Most of them don't defend sex selection abortions. Most of them don't defend birth control abortions. But if the thing that justifies abortion, because she can do whatever she wants with anything inside of her body, that is just as true in the 3rd trimester as it is in the 1st. Where's the baby in the 3rd trimester? Still in her body. So this is the problem. This is the other extremist option that they have. Either they've got to be pro-squirrel equality, pro-infanticide, or they've got to be a Hillary Clinton-style abortion extremist where all abortions are okay. And nobody wants to be like Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton doesn't even want to be like Hillary Clinton. That was me. I should be nice to Hillary because it was that couple months. We want to make the comfortable pro-choice position. We want people to have to choose between an uncomfortable extremist position or becoming pro-life. So when I point out this problem for pro-choice people, it doesn't always change them right away. It makes them uncomfortable, they still need more. So there's a couple of other indications that we talk about, and they both revolve around this drug called thalidomide. Thalidomide is one of the great tragedies of 20th century medicine. In the late 50s and early 60s, mainly in Europe, for a little while, doctors were giving thalidomide to pregnant women to help them with morning sickness. What nobody knew during those years was that if you give a pregnant woman thalidomide, her baby will either die or be born with severe defects. Like babies by that time were being born without arms and or legs. And there's an argument that we use. It's not our argument. We're not the first class apologists to talk about the idea of like thalidomide as a pro-life argument. Dr. Lewis is part of this. But before I explain the argument to you, I wanted to take a moment and think about this. This is not just a thought experiment. This really happened. This happens to hundreds of people, and I've noticed that since I've spent some time learning about some of the victims of thalidomide, I've done a better job of talking to people about it in a way that is appropriately discussed. And so for just a moment, I'm going to put a picture up on the screen of one file that we've written up in the letter. It's graphic, it's hard to look at, you can close your eyes if you want. I think if we're going to use thalidomide as a pro-life argument, then we should grapple with how devastating this actually was. For people who are still there in the 60s and 70s, without arms and legs, who still struggling with that. Picture of that. This is our important. So imagine a pregnant woman decided to move it a little. We're not saying this is how pro-choice women are, we're not saying how women with abortions are like. Just imagine, thought experiment, a woman, like, she's got really bad morning sickness, she's tried everything, nothing's worked, and she convinces her husband, a doctor, to give her some knowing what to do. Maybe that's what it takes. And her son is born without that. Should it be legal for her to do that? That is the question we're going to ask. Should it be legal for her to do that? Well, most pro-choice people feel pretty uncomfortable with that. They want to say no. It shouldn't be. But now we're in kind of an awkward situation. Why are they saying no? It's wrong to deprive the child of arms and their legs. But now they're in the awkward position of saying that the child has the right to arms and legs, but does not have the right to be dismembered, to not be dismembered in the morning. That's kind of an awkward argument to try to pull off. Now, this can make pro-choice people pretty uncomfortable, but sometimes again, it's not quite enough. You ever met those people who fight every bullet, who are just like, they don't want to concede anything because they don't want to lose? We don't want to give up. What we want to do is we want to hand them the bullet that's going to be the most uncomfortable possible. I want them to walk away later being like, I had to say that to win? Oh, that's not good. That's what I want to have happen. And they're like, I'm going to make this really uncomfortable. And this isn't quite uncomfortable enough for some pro-choice people. So my brother put his spin on it and modified it to make it harder for pro-choice people to fight this bullet. What if a woman took thalidomide for the sole purpose of performing her child? Again, this is not what we're saying pro-choice people are like. This would be a very, very evil person. Well, let's just imagine this again. This is a thought experiment. Go with me here. What if the woman from the first story, let's say a couple of years later, she gets pregnant again? And she has a very different pregnancy experience. She's not having any morning sickness. But she's not thinking. She's thinking about her 2-year-old son who doesn't have money. She's thinking how unfair it would be if she had a perfect child now. So she convinces her husband again to get her delivered for the sole purpose of supporting her child. This is much harder for her to fight that bullet. And for a while that was confusing to me. It's confusing to me that so many people would change their mind. This is the second most persuasive argument we use. The first most persuasive by far is the equal rights argument. The thalidomide and intentionally deformed the fetus, second most persuasive argument we use. And for a while that was confusing to me because it seems obvious that it's worse to dismember someone than to deform them. I don't think it confuses me anymore. The more I talk to pro-choice people, the more I'm convinced of the amazing ability that the human being their lifestyle doesn't work if they're not pro-choice. So they've spent sometimes years rationalizing themselves to be pro-choice, telling them that whatever they had to tell themselves to be pro-choice. It's not a baby, it's not a baby, it's not a baby. You're bodily rights, bodily rights, bodily rights, pro-life is our mean, pro-life is our mean, pro-life is our mean. Like whatever they had to say to convince themselves and build a life that's really rationalizing. That's what's going on for a lot of pro-choice people. But here's the key. No one in this universe has spent years rationalizing the right of women to deform their children with the little. So their moral compass is working on this question, where it might not be on the abortion question. So they have to choose between their commitment to abortion and the obvious fact that it is wrong to intentionally deform children. And some will still choose their devotion to abortion. But I'm encouraged by how many people don't do that. By how many people become pro-life just because they finally heard a good response to bodily rights. So with my last 2 minutes, I want to tell you where you can go if you want to learn more. We started URI because we really wanted to help, especially high school and college students, to have better conversations and children's pro-choice of minds. So we partner with Students for Life because they've done all the hard work of starting all these clubs, and now we get to go and train them. The problem is Students for Life is just too dang effective. They've got over 1,000 clubs now. We can't get to 1,000 clubs in person anymore. There's no way to do that. But we want to go and help all of them. I want to help this entire generation of pro-life people to make better arguments than the past generation did. So the only solution to the problem is we need to do creative course that you can all take on your own. So last year we produced a course called The Quick for Life. Wow, that link looks terrible. Okay. It's thequickcourse.com. No way to do it. We made that not a hyperlink before the next conference. So what this is you can learn all the different things. So we used to teach those seminars and more. There's 29 HD video lessons. You can download the audio versions. If you're more of an audio learner and you want to put them on your phone and listen to them when you're driving or walking around campus, you can learn that way. There's also group activities. We custom made this for Students for Life Club. We want you to master these arguments and these dialogue sessions. So we're giving you discussion questions and role plays. You guys can practice with each other so you can get really good at this and go do outreach. We have a test that happens every other Tuesday. All the pro-life people to get better at this. And I heard a really